Okay, so if you're anything like me, you are likely thinking one of two things right now. One, you are getting absolute sick and tired of how Activision is treating Call of Duty with how it's becoming a stupid live service scam. And two, you're as a result looking at your backlog and are likely like, holy shit, I have over 1,000 games. I can spend my time so much better on playing these games. So that's why I'm doing this new series on the channel called Backlog Archives, where I go through the backlog year by year to see which games are worth playing. In this first video, we will cover the year 1976. According to Backlog, there are a total of 52 games released that year. For this video though, I narrowed that down to only 3 games that are worth checking out in my opinion. Oh, and before we are going to cover these 3 games, some of you might ask why I'm not covering anything before that time. To be very simple about it, there's nothing really worth checking out in that time span. The only somewhat important game in my opinion in that time frame is Pong. So I guess I will just briefly talk about that and just move on from there. I think we all know how this game works at this point, but for a brief explanation, you control this bar on one side of the screen and trying to bounce a flying dot on the screen onto the bar so it bounces to your opponent, and then you basically just hope that your opponent misses and then you get a point. And if you get 11 or 15 points based on how the game is set up, then you basically win. The only other important thing that you should know about Pong is it's important. That's it. It shaped the video game industry to make more games, and it is fun to play for the idea that you played the game that did that, but there's not much really more to it than that, sadly. The very first actual game that I want to cover on this series is an arcade game called Night Driver. In Night Driver, you take control of a very high-speed car that can get to incredibly high speeds. And when I say incredibly high speeds, I mean this game will give you seizures if you play too good. Your goal is simply to drive the car as fast as possible, the distance being monitored in points. This does mean we have a little bit of a situation on our hands here. Like, how fast does this thing actually go? Like, is this kilometers per hour, being a normal race car? Or does this thing actually go faster than Sonic the Hedgehog? Now, this is where you might think for yourself and say, hey, Mr. Archives, this is nice and alright, but like, this is an arcade game in the 70s. There's no real way you can find some reason to still play this for some reason and be satisfied about it. You can't really beat the game, and you can only really set a high score that nobody cares about. And I hear you guys with that, but that really only means that I'm going to blow your mind with retro achievements. Retro achievements is a platform that in my opinion a lot more people should know about. Essentially, when you make an account on this site and use an emulator called RetroArch, which is a universal emulator by the way for almost all the emulators out there, you can log into your retro achievements account here, and by doing so thousands of old games get tons of achievements to collect. These add so much value to so many classic games. Now suddenly what you do in Night Driver matters. Goals for getting certain scores, speeds, or other more obscure objectives award you with gamer score that you can collect. No more fear of missing out with games that are supposed to be endless arcade cash grabs too. Just get all the achievements you want to go for a game and beat, complete, or master the game and move on to the next one satisfyingly. But that's not all that Retro Achievement does. Most games with this system now also track your score and time to have you compete in online leaderboards. High scores, game modes, and speedruns all can be competed in on any game against people from all around the globe. This is also not sponsored in any kind of way. I mean, come on, I'm not even a big enough YouTuber for that. I just really want to recommend this because it makes playing through all these old games just a blast. Anyway, back to focusing on Night Driver. This game is not only the oldest one on Retro Achievements, but also one of the easiest. But that to me means starting here is just perfect. You get to warm up towards playing these old games fanatically, which is essential for later games in this timeline. Especially when, like me, you know how difficult some of these NES games are going to be. There are only 6 achievements for this game, and most of them revolve around getting a certain speed, 240 I believe, and getting a certain amount of score, which is 280. Both of which you can get by learning the game and improving your skills enough where you can get these stats, which again for me didn't really take much longer than 15 minutes. It's this last one that made me scratch my ear a little bit. For acquiring this one, I had to get my car trucked? After puzzling for 10 minutes of what the hell that meant, what it actually eventually turned out to be was that you had to go out of bounds and then keep driving deeper into the out of bounds section to the point where the game is like, yeah bro, not in my game, and then throws you an instant game over. I am not going to lie to you, that looks like it would suck to lose your quarter that way at that time. Hey everyone, post-edit archives here. Apparently do not get an instant game over, you just respawn. For some reason, I just really thought the game throws a game over at you when you do that. And I am stupid. Anyway, moving on. But also, I don't mind an achievement like this being here because it forces you to explore this game to the limit and think outside of the box. And it just makes you do stuff in games you normally don't do, and it just gets so much more value. And oh my god, I'm gonna nerd on these achievements so f***ing much. Anyway, with that last achievement achieved, we have now mastered our first game. Oh, and in case you're wondering what mastering a game means, Retro Achievements defines 3 different degrees of marking off a game on your backlog. You can complete a game by obtaining all the achievements within a game. You can achieve a certain set of achievements within a game that are labeled as progression achievements and beat the game that way. Or you can master a game. This is getting all the achievements in what they call hardcore mode. If you've ever played a game on any emulator, you might know that there are certain tools like Save Stage, which you can use to provide to yourself with an external save point to which you can load into anytime you desire. This is to make certain games that have a lack of natural save points have them more streamlined for casual players, as back in the day they really didn't mess around with the difficulty. In hardcore mode though, you better not get used to these tools too much, as those kinds of assists are fully turned off. In other words, you have to earn your achievements the old-fashioned way. The most latter of these degrees is what I will strive for to achieve for most of these games that we will play on this series. Unless the achievements are really stupid, but more on that once we get there. For now though, let's lay focus on our next game on the list, which is also for us the very first game on a console. Which is also the very first cartridge-based video game console. This is Video Card 02 Desert Fox and Shooting Range for the Fairchild Channel F. And I can already hear you guys, Mr. Archives. This game looks primitive as yes! That is true! Did you expect anything else? From the very first cartridge-based console?
I'm sorry, this is not the next call, I'll do it.
Keep it together, Archives. This game actually consists of 2 games. The first game on the cartridge, Desert Fox, is a 1v1 game where you control a tank and try and make it shoot your opponent for points. There's only one problem with playing this game alone though. It doesn't have an AI opponent. The achievements even acknowledge this and the fact that you are likely going to play this game alone anyway. I don't really like this one. Shooting range. In the essence here, you are a blue rod shooting projectiles. And you are trying to shoot a moving target. And the tricky part about it is that you as the player change in distance from the target and the angle of your positioning, making the projectile shoot differently every time as well. The goal here is to simply hit as many targets as possible. Though, as you might have guessed, my goal was to simply get all the achievements that there were to be had. Most of them were about getting a certain score within 2 minutes, but getting a 75% accuracy with at least 20 points? Yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, at the end of it all, it still took less than an hour for me to complete this game, but you get where I'm going with this. Even a simple game as this can get you engaged to the point where it's just still amazingly incentivizing. Can't say that about the next game though. Video Card 03, Video Blackjack, is gonna be the last game to play on this year of video games. And I must say, it is an impressive game for the time. I don't feel like I have to explain a lot here since it's just blackjack in all its glory. You can even double down on your first move, though splitting your cards are noticeably removed. And the maximum bet you can make for some reason is 99 points instead of just going all in what you got. And really, that's not that big of a problem. I'm not actively looking to get this over with right away with an all or nothing hand, but the achievements, they essentially require you to get 9999 points. If this doesn't strike towards you as something of a grind, well, it is a grind. Well, it's also a gamble with odds stacked against you. I mean, have you played proper blackjack? Yes, you have tactics, but even with those, there are still bigger chances for you to lose rather to win. There is a reason why the house always wins exists. And the argument here is that you can try and count cards. Dude, I have tried to do that for hours. I mean, hours on end, and it just doesn't work. Getting to 1,000 points is, in my opinion, stretching it. But 5,099, please, for the love of God, don't go for it. Luckily, like I said in the beginning, this is where the system of progression achievements come in. Now, if you have at least gained the achievements that are considered important for beating the game, you at least get a certain sense of relief that you can stop for now when the remaining achievements get a little bit too ridiculous. And thankfully that means getting to 5,000 points and 9999 are non-essential for beating the game, and I will gladly skip mastering this game for that as a result. And that's it for this year of games. We played a total of 3 games in this year of video games and also played Pong for a moment. That means we have now played a total of 4 games. I know this is stupidly cheesy right now, but this will make sense in later episodes. I also know that this was rather a short one, but believe me, this is in that sense just a warm-up and things are gonna be much more comprehensive soon enough. For now though, I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of Backlog Archives, and with that said, if you like what you saw, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next episode.